Hey everyone, it's Jonathan and welcome to the Joncast Rewind. This channel is a movie podcast channel covering literally whatever I want. This is my second channel, or third if you count my standalone podcast channel, Every Version Ever, which has a more literary focus than my two main channels, this one and the Joncast Multiverse. I've been reviewing movies and TV on the internet since 2012, and between writing for websites, making YouTube videos, and podcasting, I've made a lot of friends from all walks of life who love talking about movies just as much as I do. Everything from blockbusters to indie films, from horror movies to animated fairy tales, absolute cinema to absolute garbage. Even if I don't love a movie, I still love talking about them, and there's no topic or genre that me and my friends won't cover. From classics like Pixar's Ratatouille or Spielberg's Jurassic Park, to knockoff dollar store fare like Ratatouille or Jurassic Hunt. I just love talking about movies, and this show is literally going to be whatever I feel like talking about. Making something as varied and as broad as this is probably going to be an algorithmic mistake, but who cares? I podcast because I love it, and I'm making this for me. That being said, if you're interested in something a bit more predictable, my other podcasts have a much more narrowed focus. I mentioned Every Version Ever, which started in 2020 and was technically my second podcast, though it spun out of a couple different YouTube series I started in 2017, which is basically where this all began, and is my longest running series to date. It started with Alice in Wonderland, but we've branched out to so many other stories covering everything from fairy tales to novels, finding all kinds of adaptations from film to TV, even occasionally ballet, radio, or opera. My first podcast also started as a YouTube series. iHeart Animation started as short video reviews in 2018, but it wasn't long before I realized I much preferred longer conversations, and I expanded it into the iHeart Podcast in 2019. Changed the name a couple times over the years, but eventually reverted back to iHeart Animation. My most recent podcast started in 2022, though it also began as a YouTube series in 2018, the Disney Movie Marathon, initially with the goal of going through the entire Disney canon from start to finish, which I'm still doing, but now in between official canon episodes we're also doing random one-off episodes on more obscure titles in the Disney library, like The Unidentified Flying Oddball or Tim Burton's Hansel and Gretel. Now, as you can imagine, there's a lot of crossover between all these shows. I will frequently make an episode for one podcast, but use it for two or three because it just fits everywhere. Last year I did a mini-series on Snow White, covering Disney's original from 1937, plus the 1916 film that inspired a teenage Walt Disney to make his own, then fast-forwarding to the live-action remake in 2025, as well as an obscure 1981 stage adaptation of the original animated film. That miniseries was intentionally made for all three podcasts, and it could eventually come to this one as well. And at the time I'm recording this, I'm in the middle of a series on Every Version Ever covering Jurassic Park, both the movies and the novels. But when I started recording that series, the intention was that it would also be for this new podcast as well. But beyond things like that, I have so many other ideas for podcasts that don't neatly fit into any of my current shows, so for the last year or so I've been trying to think of a way I can expand out and cover more things I like, without feeling like I have to make it work into everything else I'm doing. I love sci-fi movies, but aside from a mini-series on the War of the Worlds for Every Version Ever, I haven't had too much occasion to cover a lot of sci-fi. I've recently discovered I think I might be into musicals, but aside from the obvious Disney ones, I can't just randomly do an episode on something like La La Land or The Greatest Showman, because what show would those fit into? Speaking of La La Land and The Greatest Showman, I've never seen either of those. I've never seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Citizen Kane, 2001: A Space Odyssey, or pretty much any Alfred Hitchcock movie. I did see The Birds when I was a teenager, but I'd love to revisit that and do a podcast on it. But none of these movies really fit into any of the shows I'm already doing, so I'm starting a new one. This show will have no rhyme or reason to it. One week I might do an episode on Disney's The Aristocats, and the next we might do one on the 1998 American Godzilla. We could cover anything from Don Bluth's Thumbelina to Ridley Scott's Alien. There will be no set theme to this show other than the fact that I love movies, and I love talking about movies, and I love podcasting. I'm making this show for me, but if you also happen to like some of the same things as me, then this is for you too. I've tried to cover random one-off things on my main YouTube channel before. In between episodes on Lady and the Tramp and Sleeping Beauty, I'd also release episodes on the Adam West Batman movie, or The Goonies, and the algorithm usually hates those. And I guess I don't blame it. There's not a lot of crossover appeal for Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella and the Christmas mockbuster shark movie Santa Jaws, but I am that crossover, so I'm making the show as completely unfocused as my taste, and the algorithm can hate this one instead. Probably. I don't know how any of this works. And I will say right up front that I'm going into this with no schedule planned. I've tried to keep a schedule before and failed. I've tried once a week on Wednesdays, I've tried Mondays and Fridays, I've tried a combination of both, and nothing works forever. So what I can promise you is that I will aim for once a week, and if it doesn't happen, we'll try again next week. I've tried to do everything right with all my other podcasts, so what if this time I try to do everything wrong? I think I've gotten to the point where I don't care anymore. I just want to make what I like. Anyway, thanks for listening. New episodes will be coming very soon. When this launches, I will have sort of a best-of playlist prepared for probably at least the first couple of months, and then I will start making some brand new content to throw into the mix. I already have lots of ideas, and I'm excited to see where this goes. We'll see you soon for probably like Jaws and the Last Unicorn. Yeah, that sounds like a good combo to launch with.